Hi, I'm here with the lovely Helen Patter. Helen, how are you?
I'm great, thanks, Leah. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you so much for contributing to the textbook. Your chapter's beautiful as always. Readers from clinical naturopathic medicine will be familiar with it, but you've completely revised it and updated it and expanded on it. And basically, we took your sections from the pediatric chapter and just went, no, these are standalone specialties. So
Yeah, it's such a big topic, isn't it? And there's so much information in that area as well, which just is continually coming out. So there's always so much to update. So it was nice to be able to sink my teeth into the research again and really see what are the new bits of information we have learned over the years. Yeah.
yeah, no, fantastic. Before we get stuck into the chapter, I guess I just wanted to introduce everyone to how did naturopathy find you? How
Wow.
did
Via a couple of avenues. Where do we begin? I guess my health growing up was never fantastic. Throughout my childhood and teens, a lot of immune issues, in particular recurrent infections, asthma, eczema, um, constipation, gut issues, just from a very early age. By the time I finished high school, I'd had shingles and pneumonia and bronchitis every year, and you name it. And for me at the time, I wasn't necessarily on a path of trying to get well because that was my normal, which is something I see for a lot of people now that don't realize how bad they're feeling because that's their normal. Um, but for whatever reason, I guess there was always a bit of a greenie in me and there was always a carer in me. I always had a very caring nature. You can see photos from childhood where I'm looking after little babies, etc. So I was thinking of either going into some kind of environmental work or nursing or something along those lines. I'd not even heard of naturopathy. Um, and my sister did a short course on essential oils, and that was kind of my introduction. And when my niece was born, I would get the book out and I would look up the different oils, and if my niece ever got sick, I would apply the oils appropriately. And I just really noticed she responded really quickly, which made me start to think there's really something in this. And so I delved a bit further, and then I found out in year 11 or 12 about naturopathy, and I thought, oh, that just really appealed to that caring nature and that natural aspect as well. And so I started studying straight after school, basically, and it was interesting because that really began my journey to being well as well. So now, 25 years on, I feel healthier and better at this point in my life than I did as a teen, and I'd like to continue that trajectory as well. So yeah, it's been a healing journey for myself, and a lot of that has been, yes, through the theory and the textbooks and the uni courses, but much of that has actually come through working with patients. And it's one of those funny things, and it really exemplifies for me how experiential learning is so powerful, because I had learnt a lot of theory, obviously, by the time I'd started practicing, but I hadn't necessarily applied all the dots to myself or joined all those dots for myself. And then as I started seeing patients and they were coming in with these complaints or symptoms, and I was thinking, oh, I never actually thought to, complain or be concerned about that myself. Maybe I should check this out for myself. And so began my journey down the path of feeling better.
Fantastic. Well, you're absolutely glowing, so it's working clearly. But where to from here for you? Where do you see it all unraveling for yourself?
Well, it's interesting. I guess in the last couple of years, I found myself at it, not necessarily a crossroads, but just reassessing where to from here and how I can go forward most effectively, because there's a lot that I'm passionate about and want to bring together and help people to understand A, the joy in being well, and B, the power of curiosity, and see how we're all connected. And I really feel, after 20 years of clinical practice, the more and more I see, the more I'm sure that most of our diseases come from disconnection from self, each other, and nature. And so helping people to reignite those connections and have experiences of those connections and practice, you know, the journey of living well. That's what I want to bring forward, basically. And I, you know, my heart breaks when I see kids who just don't have the head start that I know they could have if their parents had the information about what foods are important or what lifestyle measures are important. And as you know, we're just in this environment these days, which is typically so far removed from our genetic roots and what it takes for us to thrive. So trying to, as much as possible, return to those natural rhythms and cycles and exposures that we were born to have around us. And it's quite apt at the moment, because right now I'm speaking to you from a regenerative farm, and the more I learn about regenerative farming, which has been an interest of mine for years, and I've got a good friend and colleague who owns this farm, the more I learn about the regenerative farming, the more I just see the parallels between, you know, the soil and gut health and the ecosystem of the farm and our body, and how we interact with that ecosystem and the greater ecosystem, and it just keeps like blossoming out from there. So it's this incredibly beautiful, intelligent design of nature, and I would love for more people to have the pleasure of recognizing that.
Fantastic. Well, it definitely came through in your chapter, and I think to choose such a specialised area, but particularly with kids, because you can make so much difference with them. And I know we've spoken before about the differences that you've made with your patients. It's beautiful. So it's so rewarding to include it, and I'm really grateful that we could, and that you could share your expertise with everyone. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Yeah, so grateful to have that opportunity. And it is so powerful working with children, because obviously it's going to affect them and the rest of their lives. However, it also affects the whole family units as well. And especially, you know, when we look at populations of children with ASD, even things like the divorce rate in those families is upwards of 80%. There's just so much more stress going on in the family unit. So chronic illness doesn't just affect the person with the illness, it affects the community around them as well. So working with that individual, you know, just can change the trajectory of their life, but also of their family unit. And then, you know, that has butterfly effect to the greater community too.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Helen. And look, I really strongly encourage everyone to have a look at your chapter, because there's so much wisdom there and so much practical as well as specific advice. And yeah, it's wonderful to be able to include it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Helen.